install them. So you got to make sure that you have a combination of services that are in place, as well as monitoring and management that make sure that you're going to avoid as much downtime as possible. And that's really the key of IT services when it comes to the risk management side of things. So data security, backup, recovery. These things are important to understand and really item out. So another overview of the market. I have some questions I'll go back to now. How many regions do you back up? Well, we have customers and partners all over the world, Ireland, Africa, Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, the UK, Australia, South America, Central America, Canada. Our data centers are located in Australia, India, Ukraine, the UK, Canada, and North America. Currently, we have 5 data centers in North America alone, 10 total across the globe. Another question about deduplication before sending the changed blocks. Well, there is no deduplication in our system because it kind of goes against somewhat of what backup can be, which is if a file is created in your machine, it should never be purged. We have unlimited version history for our machines. Our versioning is based on complete file paths beginning with the machine name. The question, how resource hungry is your program when not currently backing up? If it's not backing up, it's not doing anything. How heavy is the software on the computer? It's really very light. The initial backup even can be run during business hours and generally not affect a whole lot. I actually have a 25 gig backup set on my personal machine, and that's because I have a lot of recorded videos and also marketing videos. So I'm a bit of an outlier on the business average of being just around 8 to 10 gigs. But I ran an initial backup with the system, and because we operate in packages where we identify a package of files, we process, we transfer, then we confirm. If the backup were to stop after that confirmation, that's fine because everything done before that is already done. So you'll actually see that your local processes will go as it's packaging the service, and then it'll drop to 0 while it's transferring data, and then it'll hop back. So it's a nice system that it bounces back between local and network resources. Good question. How do you restore a whole server in the event of a complete meltdown? Well, it really depends on a lot of different things. So what's the quickest way to downtime? How old is the machine? What's on that machine that you need to restore? We don't have any type of bare metal recovery. We are a flat file system at this point. All we do is back up the user-generated data. We do not have any type of package of the entire system. One reason is that having a whole system state file off-site, when you look at the procedure for getting back online, your bandwidth may not even be a viable option to pull that much data across the wire. So really, that's why you employ multiple strategies in backup. A lot of times, let's say your whole server dies and your server is 6 years old, you're probably not going to recover that whole thing. You're probably going to rebuild it anyways, just pull the data back. So it's important to identify all the different risks, and we go through this in our partner trainings as well, and putting together a formal risk registry. You know, what are you worried about in data loss, and what are the options to prevent that type of loss, and what are your options to mitigate that loss if you can't prevent it, and then is there any loss that we just have to accept? So hardware failure often is something that can be completely prevented with good managed services. You have smart scanning tools, good tech refresh policies. You know, hardware warranties pretty much tell you when you should be worried about hardware dying. And in a business environment, you want to make sure that you don't have hardware that's out of warranty. For consumers, not that big of a deal. But when it comes to the difference of being in business and being out of business, you want to make sure that you have supported hardware and software. At least that's our recommendation. All right, I'm going to go through a little bit more about this and then get back to some more questions. Good questions coming through. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ron, Shiv, Stephen, Scott, Dan. Thank you, guys. I'll get to those in a little bit. So one of the things about data that we've seen, not just in the market, which is predictable, but something that's interesting when you look at some of the commodity services out there, is the attempt to limit the inevitable growth of data when it comes to the per user amount of data that you may have. 10 years ago, the average business user may not have had more than 2 or 3 gigs of data. In Microsoft Office, that's pretty much it. It's not a whole lot of video or music or things like that. The average consumer, maybe just under 10 gigs. You have cameras and people doing that, but still not that much. Well, today you can buy a 15 megapixel camera for $150. You can get 720 video on that same camera, mini HD as it's known. So you can get a lot of information. The average consumer is actually up to close to 50 gigs on average now. I think it's actually between it's like 38.8, something of that nature. But the average consumer has a lot more data now because of the advances in technology, and it's interesting to see how a lot of services have reacted to that. A lot of it has to do with limitations in what can be backed up, how quickly you can back things up, and even if you can back it up. So some of the services limit where you can pull data. So if the drive is not local, you can't back up data from it. If the file is larger than X amount, it's not a limitation of the software, it's a built-in restriction of the software to not allow larger files like media files, video files. Sometimes those extensions are even blocked altogether. A very common way of limiting how much people can back up is by throttling users. You get a certain bandwidth allotment on a daily basis. Once you reach that point, you'll see your transfer really drop significantly. With SOS Online Backup, we've always been on the side of, if this data is important to you, you should be able to back it up. So we don't have per-seat licensing costs to use the software to back up items. We don't limit you in where you can pull data. As long as you have read-write privileges, you can pull the data from a MAC drive, network drive, external drive, push it off-site. We don't have any limitations when it comes to certain file types, completely file type agnostic. We let you set file type filters if that's convenient to you, but we let you set those. And it really lends itself to be a more flexible service when it comes to how you can deploy, use, and implement this strategy and backup so you do have a full solution, as well as how you can sell this across to your customers. More and more households are becoming multi-PC households, so that's why you've seen a lot of the competition fall in suit with our policies of multiple machines per account, expanded versioning for up until 2008, 2009, most companies didn't offer any versioning, claiming that this was an archiving function and this is not part of backup. We've always offered unlimited version history for free, so this is a big part of it. So that's always been protect, access, share, and manage is a big part of it. We're actually going to be, sorry to interrupt everyone, we're actually going to be out. So I'm going to give the Kindle code now. Let's go ahead and get to the line where you can call our partner specialists and get some more information. Everyone will have to call in about 20 minutes. We got to reset our phone system. So the Kindle code is actually SKC08D11. And I'll put that in the chat. And again, call in your partner specialist. The phones are going to be down about 2 minutes, and they'll be up probably in the next half hour. Go ahead and take that Kindle code, call your partner specialist, give them your name, your contact information, and they'll enter you in the drawing, and then we'll alert you next week as if you won or who did win. A couple questions before these things go off. What if I back up a virus or Trojan? Well, because we're packaging the files and we encrypt and compress before we transfer and we're storing it at an encryption, then we don't have to worry about it because it's going to be by itself. It's not going to infect the rest of your backup set. Another question from Carlos. I found it difficult to install after I trialed. I really don't have enough information to know why it was difficult to uninstall. I don't think I've ever had an issue uninstalling the software. So maybe contact support, or you can contact me after. Your partner specialist will be able to help you that as well. But uninstalling the software for me is pretty simple. You just hit uninstall, and it removes all settings and files, and you should be good. In older versions, there was a overlay process that would continue to run even if you uninstalled. So if you tried to delete the directory, it said you wouldn't be able to do that. So you would have to shut down that process, and that's with older versions, and that shouldn't be an issue now. All of our servers are owned by SOS. It's all our own NOC services. It's all our own support agents, our infrastructure team. They're all SOS staff. So we're not knocking on anyone else's door. It's our own door. We get to go with all that if we find any issues. With the business, you can have, there is no limit to how many computers you can have per account. For performance issues, we usually say keep accounts limited to 50 machines or under. But that depends on every environment. We have a number of customers who have hundreds of workstations on single accounts, like laptop fleets. They put their whole laptop fleet on a single account. Yes, the presentation will be available on our website if you go to sosonlinebackup.com for resellers, and then hit the webinars tab. So again, we apologize for having to cut this short, but your partner specialist will be able to offer or will be able to talk with you through a